welcome you, Mohit. To begin with, we saw bouts of slowdown in venture capital funding for startups in India in the last year, and a lot of people from your industry had reiterated the risks of prolonged funding winter in the startup ecosystem in India. So, what's your outlook for startup funding when we look at 2024?
Contrary to popular belief, in the last 18 months, from June 22 till December of 23, there were 250 early stage investments made. About 60 of those were Series A and the rest of them were seed investments. So that's close to 12 to 15 new investments every month on average. That's not a slowdown. I think that's actually great pace for the early stage business. Perhaps people are referring to the growth investments, which have been slower than in prior years, and there's a good reason for that. A lot of companies raised enough capital in the 2021 bull cycle and have worked hard to reduce burn and to reduce the expenses, and so have not found the need to come back to the market for raising a new round of capital. But I'm very bullish that we're going to see an active 2024 and 2025 investment cycle, and the reason for that is just India's relative position as compared to any other investment destination in the world. See, 10 years back, India was the 10th largest economy. Today, it's the 5th largest economy. And more importantly, it's growing faster than any other large economy. So the investors of the world know this and are definitely looking to actually create enough dry powder in the country to go after the best opportunities. We ourselves, as Peak 15, raised about $2.8 billion in our last fund cycle, and many of our venture capital competitors have also raised their largest ever funds. So I expect a fairly frantic and constructive investment cycle coming in the next 1 to 2 years.
So if we now shed some light on the IPO market in country, with the IPO market now picking up momentum, how do you see the demand for venture capital money among startups and among other industries too? And what are your views on the valuations on some of the recent listings that have happened in India?
No, it's a great question. First, let me start by saying the single biggest, most positive thing that has happened for investors in India has been the opening up of the IPO market for technology startups in the last 5 years. Zomato is a great example of a company that went public in India, and today trades at close to $13 to $14 billion after having traversed its journey towards being a profitable company. We ourselves at Peak 15 have actually enjoyed being part of 20 IPOs that have happened across our own portfolio across India and Southeast Asia. Mama Earth was the most recent one. I think in November it went out close to 10,000 crores and has traded up quite nicely since then. Once again, the reason this is happening and the reason the Indian IPO market is so attractive is because of the relative attractiveness of India as a destination for investors. Last year, there was close to $20 billion that flowed into the Indian IPO markets from foreign investors. And more importantly, there was close to $22 billion that flowed in from domestic institutions into our IPO markets, making it one of the highest years in terms of having over $40 billion of inflows for companies in India that have gone public. So I'll let you in on a secret, and that is that the single biggest, most important agenda item at board meetings in many large private companies today is how do you re-domicile a company that is not domiciled in India back into India so that we can actually go public in India. And so you should see a large number of Indian startups get to the IPO markets in the next 12 to 24 months.
So venturing a little bit into the kind of sectors that you are looking at, if you look at payments, consumer internet and SaaS sectors, how do you gauge valuations for these sectors going forward in 2024?
So let me start by saying our venture capital business is a power law business. And what that means is a few investments will drive the majority of the fund returns. Given that, it is very important for us to focus on picking the right companies to partner with. So sure, valuation is really important, but it is more important for us to actually pick the right company. So I told you earlier, in the last 18 months, 250 new startups were created, which were funded by institutional capital. Well, not all of them are going to go on to become billion-dollar IPO companies or $5 or $10 billion companies. There'll be a very few, a handful of those that will go on to see that kind of success. And our job is to actually make sure we partner with them. I'll give you an example. We partnered with Misho when they were about a $30 million valuation. In a short span of 7 years, Misho has become the third horizontal e-commerce platform after Amazon and Flipkart. And that's despite the fact that they started about 10 years after the first two. So Misho is a great example where it didn't matter whether we invested at $30 million or $60 million valuation, because its last round valuation was closer to about 5 billion. But it's more important that we were, out of all the startups in that year, able to find and partner with Misho. And so I'll end by saying it is super important as early stage investors to understand the market trends, to be very discerning in terms of the quality of the teams and the founders that you partner with. And then once you find that, to really be able to partner deeply and double down on multiple investment rounds with that company, rather than just being wholly focused just on valuation.
So moving on from software, AI, deep tech to health tech, how do you see the digital innovations happening in the health tech space? Do you think that is an exciting opportunity to explore at this moment?
I think it's a great question, and it's absolutely a new area that is still developing and holds a lot of promise. I'll give you the example of one of the companies, early companies that I'm partnering with. The name of the company is Twin Health. They use technology like IoTs and AI and sensors to be able to understand the metabolic levels of a human body. And they're able to then use that technology to guide a person to be able to improve their metabolism and take care of chronic diseases like diabetes. It's a proven technique that you can actually measure many foods and how your body metabolizes it. And over time, if you sleep right, exercise right, eat right, you're able to actually make some drastic changes to health. So it's a great example of where I think preventive healthcare can take us, so that we don't deal with some of these long-term issues of these chronic diseases. I personally am very bullish that when tech meets healthcare, we will be able to see a much healthier sort of population, and hopefully the healthcare expenses will also go down.
So apart from the sectors in the startup ecosystem that we have discussed till now, what else are the kind of startups that you're looking forward to in the first quarter of 2024? What's exactly getting you excited at this moment?
Great question. See, the three pillars of investment for us in venture capital have always been consumer, software, and fintech. And so these three will continue to be large drivers of investment dollars and therefore returns for our funds. So these will continue. And the reason for that is obvious. Software, for example, India has a rich history of creating fantastic large companies in the IT services space. Then we had companies like Freshworks and Zoho that put India on the world stage in software. Many of these companies have now got developer tools as a major focus area, and now AI with AI co-pilots and AI insights form the roadmap for almost every software company coming out of India. So India, because it has one of the largest populations of software developers, has a right to win in software, and we will continue to keep investing in it. But beyond consumer, software, and fintech, there is a very interesting new trend, and that is deep tech. Over the last 18 months, we have partnered with early stage companies in semiconductors, in space, and precision manufacturing, for example. Degantra is a very exciting company in the space situational awareness area. And what that means is, with all the space debris that exists out there, it's very important for anyone launching a satellite or maintaining a satellite to be aware of the trajectories and the orbit trajectories of these debris. And that's what Degantra helps these companies with, so that they can actually take evasive maneuvers in time. Mindgrove and Incor are two semiconductor startups that came out of IIT Madras that we have the good fortune of partnering with. Both these startups are using RISC-V, which is a new standard, to try and disrupt the monopolies that exist in the semiconductor world globally. And finally, Ethereal Machines is a very special manufacturing company that has 5-axis CNC machines, which allows them to do precision manufacturing for sectors like defense. And so these are 2 or 3 examples of new thesis areas, new companies that never quite existed in India before that we are super eager to double down on and then partner with more of the same.